the keyword vulnerability is something that I've been trying to focus on, especially in the past couple of years. I think that the only way for me to be really happy and proud with what I put out there is if it's coming from a place of sharing my vulnerability. I think that's how we create the most beautiful stuff. And I think that that comes into play with my classes on Glow and everything as well.
Hi, I'm Derik Mills. Welcome to the Glow podcast. This is the first of a new episode series of 30-minute conversations that I'll be having with Glow teachers. I asked our team behind the scenes what questions they are curious to hear our teachers answer, and I received a list that will be fun to cycle through with all of them. We start this series with Mark Osmundsen. Mark and I discuss his experiences guest hosting the Glow podcast and his plans to start his own podcast, which will be called Spirit and Skin. Mark discusses the value of vulnerability and answers the Glow team's questions about what it's like to connect with yoga students online and what hobbies and pursuits engage him the most when he's not teaching or doing yoga. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Mark Osmundsen. Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. It's really good to see you from
You too.
afar, chat with you. It's been a while since I've seen you in person, though.
It has been a while. Years, I would say, easily.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, for sure. Well, you're a pro at this now.
Self-proclaimed pro.
Right. Yeah, most of us humans are so short on time. So we were thinking about trying a few of these shorter format 30-minute interviews with our teachers. And as you know, our team at Glow works so closely with teachers when developing content. So I asked them what they think our members would want to hear from you. And I have a long list here, and I know we likely won't get to all of them within this 30 minutes. But before we go there, you recorded 4 episodes for the Glow podcast, and they were wonderful. I learned so much from each. You are such a talented interviewer that I was excited to hear that at some point in the near future, you'll launch a podcast. And if you'd like, please tell us a bit about your upcoming podcast. And also, what did you learn throughout that journey of creating those 4 episodes?
First of all, thank you so much for asking me in the first place. Because I'm going to be completely honest with you. Creating a podcast is something that I've wanted to do for a few years now. And I'd say I kind of just didn't really have the courage to do it. And when you reached out and asked, it was, as always, the universe just kind of throwing me into everything and me doing nothing and everything happening. Yep. And it was a really beautiful moment for me getting to do these last episodes for a few reasons. One of them is that everyone that I interviewed in these first 4 episodes that we taped was someone in my own life that I have worked with or had a connection with that just so also happens to be completely awesome and, stars in their own right and incredible, leaders in kindness and all of that. But it also was an opportunity for me to really hone in on the passion that I have for just gabbing and chatting with people and sharing other voices. So I really have to thank you for that. And myself and I have a creative director and assistant, and she after listening to these was like, oh, we need to do this. we need to launch this in the new year. So she's a great help with that. Shout out to Kyla. So we're going to be launching a podcast in the new year at some point, and really focusing in on this connection in this podcast specifically between both movement and our physical body, and our sensuality with our spirituality. So it's going to be a really amazing chance to hone in on that notion of this connection between our spirit and our skin, and that's actually the name of the podcast. So look out for that.
What's in the name exactly?
Spirit and skin.
That's beautiful. It's interesting because that theme has already preceded itself in those 4 episodes. Like when I think back to it's some of the earlier ones were a while ago, but your interest, your passion, your own personal journey of what it means to express oneself through one's body in a way that is an exploration of our own stuff. Mm-hmm. And the way that you explore that with your guests is just so powerful, and the vulnerability that you interweave throughout that journey that you take us on is just captivating. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I, just to put this out there too, the keyword vulnerability is something that I've been trying to focus on, especially in the past couple of years. Because I think that the only way for me to be really happy and proud with what I put out there is if it's coming from a place of sharing my vulnerability. I think that's how we create the most beautiful stuff. And I think that comes into play with my classes on glow and everything as well. But I just appreciate you seeing that, and a lot of the listeners as well that have messaged me in seeing that. So I think if I'm vulnerable, other people will be. And I think that we all need to be a little bit more vulnerable and a little less guarded. So I appreciate that.
It is wonderful that vulnerability has become, or is becoming, we have a long way to go, more normalized. And was there a tipping point for you? If not just one experience, maybe a set of experiences that gently invited you to greater vulnerability?
I think that when I first started to be a queer creator, specifically using those 2 words, and everything that goes along with that in this atmosphere, in this society, I think that was when I really started to realize the impact that this vulnerability can have. When there's actually one experience when this is long before I was a teacher. I think I was probably 19 years old. I used to volunteer for a young men's camp that was political science and leadership based. And I volunteered for them for 5 years. It was an incredible organization. But I had quickly realized that by just being me, I was making a huge impact, because it was a very interesting environment. It was 17-year-old boys. You get it's invitation only. Each state in the United States has one of these camps, but it's pretty homogenized in the type of people that attend these. And what I realized was that there are plenty of other of these young people that were also queer, that were questioning their identity. And one specific instance, I think I was 19 or 20, and it was the end of the camp, and all of the guys would write letters, and it was such an amazing thing seeing their vulnerability and crying. And I'm talking about like 17-year-old guys in the Midwest. And I received one letter that had talked about how they this young person had attempted suicide multiple times, and that they were really struggling with their identity. And I mean, I kid you not, these words were so powerful. They had said to me that seeing me be authentic showed them that they can do this as well, and makes them want to live an authentic life. And I still have that letter. And I mean, I get chills whenever I think about it, but I didn't think that I was doing anything special. I was just showing up and doing this, but as an outwardly queer person, like it comes across without me having to do anything or say anything. And I think that was one of the moments that I realized how important it was. And since then, I get a lot of these messages on social media from young people and things. And I think that it really is just coming from that authenticity. And I'm, as I'm talking about it now, I'm realizing how much less that I really need to be doing all the time. And by just being
Mm.
myself, it's really powerful. So yeah, those instances, honestly, from other people have been really powerful.
I've got chills too, and a bit of tear in my eye. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really something special. I haven't thought about that in a minute, so I appreciate that. That was a good reminder for me.
Mm. Yeah, there's such a wonderful power in a collective. It's okay, and you're not alone in those
Hmm.
group experiences. And well, let's switch gears.
Yeah, please.
Moving on to my list from our wonderful team, they now I'm specifically speaking about the part of our team that interacts with Glow teachers on a regular basis. You know, we and they highly value the time that they get to spend with you, the onboarding as a new teacher, creating and developing the relationship, prepping for classes, and more. We put a lot of thought and care into how that overall process unfolds, and it's constantly being iterated. Can you share some of your experience working with Team Glow behind the scenes?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd love to actually. I have to be honest too. I've been a digital creator for a while now. I kind of started in, I think, 2017 was my first job creating digital fitness content. So it was a little bit of, above. I mean, now it's completely blown up, so it's a little bit above the curve. And when I first started working with Glow, I was blown away at how much the ethos of the platform is actually reflected in the people that work for it. And that
Uh,
was something that I had never really experienced. Everyone was just so kind and welcoming and loving, the ideas and everything. And I think that is what makes the experience working with Glow so special, is that we work together. It's not people like trying to tell me exactly what to teach or how to teach. We take the fundamentals of whatever the practice is, whatever the modality of movement is, and we get to really be creative with it and bring people things that are interesting, fun, inventive, curious. And I think that's what I really love. And I don't want to give away too much, but for the new year, I had this idea, and this just really goes, you can cut this out if you need to, but I don't think anyone will mind. But in the new year, I just finished a whole series on Glow that is astrology based. And every month we created a class that is based off of the signs. And next year, I had this idea. I'm really, really into crystals right now and crystal healing. And I was like, ooh, what if it would be really cool if every month we centered a class around a crystal and the healing properties of the crystal. And, each stone was being centered around our movement practice.
mm,
And so that's something that we're working on. And, it's things like that that really don't exist. I've never heard of a series of movement classes based off of, the the properties of gemstones. So that just goes to show the creativity that we bring. And I think that's what people are really interested in. And I know we wanted to talk about the member connection as well. And for me, that goes into our creative process too, because we take in what people really want to do, how people want to feel, how people want to move. So, I say this all the time at the end of class: message me, please, like reach out, let's chat. Because whenever people are like, "Ooh, I really liked that like bar class with the stretch," like I bring that back to the team, and we really, use the feedback to make things that people are going to really enjoy. And I also just absolutely love getting to connect with members of Glow. And there's people now that I talk to all the time that just sent a cold email or a cold message, and now we've become, friends, or they've, moved with me here and there. And I just think that's really special. I think that's the part of creating digitally and having a digital studio that's so beautiful, because we're connecting from all over the world, and it doesn't matter, where you are or how much money you make or this or that. We're able to connect with all different types of people from all over, and I think it's really special.
Yeah, well, I have a few points. First, that you have that experience with our team, that means so much to me. Like, that is probably the best thing that I can hear in terms
I
of
mean, you
feedback.
must be so proud.
I am. I'm so proud. There's always anyone who has the experience of co-creating with a team knows that there's only so much that you can do, right? You can um, you can co-create um, a, a vision, a roadmap, a set of expectations mutually agreed upon as to how we'll behave with each other and with everyone with whom we work. But beyond that, you're not there in every meeting, and so to
Yep.
hear that is manifesting and that there's efficacy in that process. It just, every time I hear it, throughout these however many years we've been doing this since 2008, that is the highest compliment, or one of the highest, definitely, that I can receive, and really warms my heart. And I know our team loves hearing that as well. So thank you.
Yeah, and I have one quick story too that is really beautiful, and it goes along with what I was saying before. That, I mean, I'm such a doer, right? Like, I am obsessed with doing. It's something I've been working on, like everything, the to-do list, the doing, and I've been really trying to tap back into the being. And one of the major stories in my life where it comes to play, that doing is not always best, and always trying to make things happen is not always what's going to serve your life. And Glow is the perfect instance, because my basically my mentor in Pilates was actually approached to become a Glow teacher back in 2018. And they were working on their own platform and building their own. So they were like, actually, like, I can't do this right now. However, I do know someone that would be perfect for it. And their name's Mark. And then the Glow team reached out, and that's how it came to be. It was, and it's the same thing with, I now create for an internal platform for Google, and Google's all of 200,000 employees around the globe. And they reached out to me. It's these things where I get, especially after the pandemic, when I've been stuck in my apartment and everything, so obsessed with doing. And when I really reflect on these circumstances that have changed my life, and these jobs or these career things that have come in, it's from the being. And that's something that I just want to share with people. If you're out there right now and you're trying to make things happen, just sometimes take a step back and just tap back into being you. And 9 times out of 10, they will find you.
And it's so hard to do. It's very easy to say, because we're conditioned and brought up typically in a world where it's how we're measured and how we're assessed is on the doing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not a trivial a field or terrain to navigate.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it often takes some experience. However, there are the occasional incredibly gifted and precocious individuals that somehow nail that early on. I definitely was not one of them.
Very true.
We will definitely keep in that bit about the crystals. That's amazing. I know so many of our members are going to love that. I know my wife Lisa is going to absolutely love that.
Yes.
And, yeah. And if you're a member and listening to this, you heard it from Mark. Like, the member feedback is just gold to us. Always send it in, whether directly through a member or directly through a teacher or through our customer support. We take all of those to heart, and we have a long list where we catalog.
And I read every message that people send me to, especially like, oof, I can't tell you, when I'm having a bad day and feeling like, what am I doing with my life? When I get a message from someone and they're like, I'm so thankful for you and grateful for you, and it completely changes my day. So just so you all know, don't be shy. I always welcome that.
Right, because the process of being you it can be a very lonely process. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, speaking for myself, having that that check-in with others, whether it creates a sense of validation or a sense of being on a path that is helpful, it means so much. And when I receive those, I'm not a teacher, but as you can imagine, we get all sorts of wonderful feedback about just glow in general. Those make my day, and those help me keep going. And so I feel you on that.
Yeah, one of the other, one thing that sticks out for me, a message is, when somebody told me that I hold space for them in a way that nobody else does. I was like, that's what I'm trying to do with my life. That is what I'm trying to do with my life. Beyond everything else, yes, movement is great. Your technique is blah, blah, blah. So great. But if I can just hold space for you, I think I'm doing what I need to do.
So the skill, the talent of holding space, we often hear directly from our members, even though they haven't met you one-on-one after practicing with them on Glow, they begin to feel this. We've heard it in so many different ways. I'll just call it a helpful connection that tends to persist over time. And I often hear from Glow teachers that they meet Glow members out there in the world through teacher trainings or workshops, or even people approach them out in public to say some version of, and I've heard different versions of this, like, you don't know me, but I feel like I have a connection with you because I practice so much with you on Glow. And I know people feel that way about you. It's almost as if the member feels as though you created the class that they are taking at that moment for them. And is there anything about how you either approach teaching online or approach how you teach in that moment online that you think might help create that effect of holding space for people?
That's such a good question. And I will start off by saying, I did make it for you. I did make it just for you. I think that that's what it comes from. I program my classes to feel good. I've been doing this for so long now. I know what is too intense. I know what's too much on the joints. I know what has been done a million times, and maybe we could be a little more creative with it. It's little things like this that I think that makes a good class unique. And it's starting from that place. It's starting from, how can I make this feel good? And that's really the purpose of it from the beginning.
So I know, certainly for myself, and we hear this also a lot from our members, that we all have a general sense of how we want to treat our bodies. And once we get into a habit or a routine, we learn what feels good. And then invariably, there's some sort of event in our lives where that habit and routine is disrupted. And it can be a challenge in terms of both maintaining it and coming back to it. A, have you experienced that yourself? And if so, B, what encourages you to find your way back?
Well, A, yes, absolutely, all the time. and
You're human.
B, yeah, I definitely am. And B, there's definitely a few things. The first is that I get so distracted. I think distraction, especially I've noticed the past couple of years, has gotten way worse as far as, I can't open up my phone without clicking on these apps, and I can't, there's just so much out there. And little quick moment, I'm actually reading this book called Make Time by Jake Knapp and John Zaratsky, which is kind of changing my life because it really gives you tools on how to reformat your life to make time for what matters, because there is plenty of time to be doing things, but we have to find our priorities, and we have to take away the 4.5 hours average that we all spend on our phone. So that's one of the big things. So taking control again, kind of your time, and creating a commitment to serving yourself is really, really important. I get so many, I'm interested in a million different things. I'm doing different things. I have a million different roles and jobs and all of this stuff. So for me, creating a solid routine that I can stick to is really important. And I also mean that for people that are just starting out, don't create these unattainable goals for yourself. Like if you're not used to moving, working out, or practicing, don't make it a 6 day a week thing. Start with 1 or 2 days. Make attainable goals that you're going to really feel good about. And then you can progress from there. But you're going to feel awful if the first week you only did 3 days, and then you're going to probably just give up on it altogether. So just start from that place. So the other component to this for me is that I actually have been diagnosed with a severe anxiety disorder. Anxiety has always played a role in my life, and I'd be completely lying if I wasn't saying that it was difficult and to be honest, unmanageable at times. But mental health is one of those things that if you ignore it, it doesn't just disappear. Unfortunately, I wish there was a button for it. And learning, I've been in therapy, in and out of therapy for a long time, but now I'm working with a really great therapist that really outlined this for me, in that I don't experience anxiety like a quote unquote normal person. It's heightened. It's different. The same way that some people do not experience depression like a quote unquote normal person. And coming to terms with that and finding things that are going to help aid me and reconditioning my brain, because that's what it's all about. My brain has been conditioned in this way from years and years and years, from trauma, from this, from that. My brain has defaults, and I have to recondition my brain to learn new defaults. And it's not going to happen on its own. It's only going to happen from doing the work. And the best advice that I can give to people is to find these tools. Not just therapy. You can talk about therapy, you can talk about everything. But when I say therapy in terms of this, it's not necessarily a chance to just sit on the couch and talk about everything that you're hating right now or everything that's making discomfort. Work with someone that is going to give you tools, a toolbox, so that you are not, I'm speaking from experience here, curling up in a ball, cannot get out of bed because your anxiety is so bad. I've been there so many times. And a few things that have been kind of changing me this year specifically, the notion of radical acceptance. And I know Tara Brach has a really amazing book on this as well, but accepting everything for exactly as it is and moving from there. I've been learning this meditative technique called tapping, which has been really incredible for me. Tapping works with the hemispheres of the brain, and it's physical. And especially if you have ADD or you have a anxiety disorder, it's been a really, really powerful tool for me. And the other thing is I start to ask myself this question: how do I want to spend my time? I'm sitting here, I'm in a pit of like despair, and I'm, for me a lot as well, it's worrying so much when you're out in the arena all day long, like I am. I mean, I'm doing 5 auditions a week. I'm still working as a performer, so I'm hearing no all the time. I'm working as a digital creator. I'm on social media, putting myself out there. It's exhausting. And sometimes I just sit in this pit of worrying constantly how I'm being perceived, what other people think of me, what are my friends thinking, all of these things. And lately, what's been pulling me out of it is re-examining, how do I want to spend my time? Do I want to spend my time sitting here and worrying about me saying that thing, or I shouldn't have done this, or what am I doing with my life? All these things. Can we attach ourselves back to things that bring us joy? So can we take the hours and hours that we spend being so hard on ourselves, or, sitting in our despair, and how can we use that time to bring us joy? And so that's one of my biggest things. I know we wanted to talk about this too, but one other thing outside of my career in fitness is I've been really coming back to painting and to writing, which are two of my passions that have existed since I was like 9 years old. I've always loved it. And I'm just kind of, reclaiming my time again and using it for doing things that are going to bring me joy and make me happy. And that's one of the most powerful other tools that I've come in. I know that was a long-winded answer, but yeah.
It was a beautiful answer. And I think that is a wonderful message and wish for our collective humanity that I think you're sharing with us. And I think that's also a beautiful way to end this episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate the work that we're all doing. And I really appreciate everybody that is seeking and being nourished by the work that we're all putting out there. I also really appreciate all of the other teachers on Glow. I mean, Glow has been like my online studio as well for like 4 years.
Aww.
So yeah, there's so many teachers that I absolutely love as well. And I'm just appreciative that we are putting something out there that really cares about people and cares about their movement practice. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you you mentioned courage at the top in reference to starting your podcast. But to be here with us and to share in this way takes a lot of courage. And I have a lot of respect for you and for showing up and doing that with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Derik. Yeah. And I'm just going to say one more thing for people too, and it's don't shy away from that vulnerability and keep being courageous. For anybody out there that really needs to hear that right now, just keep putting it out there.
Keep putting it out there. Yeah, I have a lot to say about that, but we would run into the multi-hour mark.
Yeah, we were trying to do this as a short one, right? That was our goal, which is really hard because I like to talk.
It's extremely hard. I do too, and I like to ramble, and I like to really pull on all the detail. And but let's see how this goes, and we can always come back for more.
Great, would love to.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you to our entire team behind the scenes at Glow. I'm so grateful for your care and commitment to serving our members around the world. Thank you to our teachers for so beautifully sharing your gifts and talents. I'm also grateful to our lovely community of Glow members. You've supported us since 2008, and because of you, we get to continue to do the work we love. It's the combined support of our team, our teachers, and our community that grants me the privilege to continue to bring you the Glow podcast. Thank you to Lee Schneider at Red Cub Agency for production support. And the beautiful music you're hearing now is by Carrie Rodriguez and her husband, Luke Jacobs. And remember, take care of yourself because our world needs you. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. You can find the Glow podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or glo.com/podcast, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm Derik Mills.